Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Today we will discuss about ServiceNow integration with Microsoft products using Graph API. In this series of sessions, the first session will cover Microsoft Entra ID integration. So from Microsoft Entra ID, we can access users and groups of the organization and retrieve them and store them into ServiceNow tables. So let's dive into it. As part of this integration, first of all, we need the API endpoints and the authentication mechanism. So here we use OAuth 2 based authentication. For that, we need to register our application in Microsoft Entra ID and then get the client ID and client secret, and then create application registry entry in ServiceNow, then create outbound REST message and using the endpoints that are available in the Graph API, and then retrieve the data using either data sources using script load type data source. Otherwise, you can even use it using simple schedule jobs kind of thing. First of all, we'll see how the integration works. So let's start with registering the application in Microsoft Entra ID. Let me log into Microsoft Entra ID portal. So I'm in Azure portal. From the Azure portal, you can navigate to the Entra ID. In the Entra ID, in the left navigation pane under Manage, you can see App Registrations. Click on the App Registrations. So in the App Registrations, you need to register a new application. So for that, click on New Registration. So let's now name this application as ServiceNow Entra integration. Okay. So for now, we'll access this for this single tenant only. Let's keep that as same. Click on register. So once done, it will give you the application ID, that is nothing, the client ID, and our tenant ID. This is the tenant ID. And we need to add other things like redirect URIs and then the client secrets, etc. So to get the client secret, so in the left navigation panel, click on Manage. In that, click on Certificates and Secrets. So if you see here, there are no certificates or secrets created as of now. You can just click on the New Client Secret and give a description. Let's name it ServiceNow, and then expires. At what time, like what is the validity of this particular client secret? So by default, Microsoft recommends 180 days, that is 6 months. Otherwise, if you have your organization policies in like a different one, you can keep 90 days, 365 days, or 575 days, 730 days, or you can even keep custom. You can give start date and end date. Okay. So for now, I'll go with the recommended approach, that is 180 days, and click on Add. So that's it. Now here, if you see, our client secret is created. So here, this is the description that we have given, and this is the time at which it expires. Once it expires, we need to generate a new secret. Okay. And here we can see a value and secret ID. Here, don't need to confuse. So actual client secret is this is the one, that is a value. So this is a secret ID. Okay. And remember that once you reload this page or log out and log into this session again, it will not be available. This value will be masked. So it is always better to copy this value. Okay. And then now we have our client secret, and at the same time we have our client ID. So this is our client ID. In the overview section of that particular registered application, you can access the client ID. Now let's go to ServiceNow. So in ServiceNow, from All menu, click on Application Registrations. Application Registry under System OAuth. So you can see under System OAuth, we have Application Registry. Click on it. So here, the existing application registries will be present. Now we need to create a new entry. So further, click on New button. So this interceptor will ask you for different options. So whether you want to create a new application in registry that will be accessed by the third parties, or you want to access third party resources. So here we are going to access Microsoft Entra ID resources here. So we need to select the third option, that is the connect to a third party OAuth provider. Click on this one. You can give any name here, like for example you can give Entra ID for example, and client secret, you can paste the client secret that you have copied and copy the client ID, that is the application ID. Okay, so rest of the things you can keep as is, but here default grant type will be client credentials. Okay, change it. And then, so to get the token, we need the token URL. Token URL will be like https://login.microsoftonline.com/your tenant ID. So you can get the tenant ID from the application overview itself. Slash OAuth2 slash version 2.0 slash token. So this will be the token URL, and the rest of the things you can keep as is. Just save this profile. So save this application history entry. Once saved, so it will create the default profile, OAuth default profile. Under OAuth entity scopes, you need to create a new scope. So here, just click on it and give the scope as default. Okay, so save this one. So here in the default, you don't see a OAuth scope. Just click on this default. So here also just give it as default. .default. Okay. So we have created the application registry in ServiceNow, and we have created a scope also, OAuth entity scope also. Now we need to create a REST message. So before, let's type REST message. Under the system web services outbound, you can see REST message. Click on this one, and then these are the existing REST messages. You can just click on the new one to create a new REST message. Give it something like Entra ID, for example, to access Entra ID resources. You can give any description. And then here it is asking for endpoint. Now let's find out the endpoints. So for example, if you want to access users, Microsoft Graph API for users. So here you see, you can from the search results, you can access this. If you just go to the overview of the documentation for the Graph API of the user, you can see every methods that are available as part of this particular API. And here you can see different resources, like me means it will give you the logged in user profile, users means it will give all the users, users/ID will give the details of that particular user. Okay, and here if you scroll, if you just select, we are interested in this one, retrieving all the users, right? So if you just click on this one /users, so it is nothing but listing the users, that means getting all the users by the Graph API. And here if you see the permission type, so in the permission types, so here it is different accounts are there: delegated, work or sole account, delegated personal Microsoft account, and application. So here we are going to access the Graph API as application, not as a user. So in that case, we need to give this particular permissions, Graph API permissions, to the application. Okay. So here the permissions will be from least to most privileged. So if you just want to read the data, this privilege is enough. No need to give the entire read-write access to the directory. Okay. So you can start with the minimal privileges that are required for this, for accessing this particular API. Okay, so these permissions we have to give at the application, that is Microsoft and application we have registered for this particular integration. So to do that, from the left navigation pane, you can see API permissions. Click on the API permissions. So by default, it will be having user.read, but what we need user.read.all. Okay, so just click on this add permission and then click on Microsoft Graph. So here it will give you two things, delegated permissions and application permissions. As I said earlier, we are going to do it as application, right? So we need to select application permissions. Once selected, just type the permission name user.read.all. So once done, you can just click the expand this one and select this. You can see read all users full profiles. That's just click on add permission. Once done, if you see the permission is added here, but in the status if you see it is not granted for default. So that means for this one we need to give admin consent. Okay, so here if you see admin consent required is yes for this one, but it is not yet granted. To grant this, you just need to click on grant admin consent and select yes. Typically this will be done by the M365 admins, but for the sake of knowledge, we're discussing that here. Okay, once done, you can go back to your the API documentation, and if you see, if you just scroll down to the bottom of this particular documentation for the users, you can see examples. So at the example space, you can see the full URL, that is the full endpoint to access the users. Okay, this is to access the users. Now, as part of this integration, we need to retrieve users and groups also, right? So we'll stop this here up to this point. Okay, this will be the base URL, that is base endpoint. Okay, save this, and then in the authentication type we need to select OAuth2. Okay, and we need to select OAuth profile, so that we have created. For this we have created this one, right? Entra ID default profile. Just select that one. And in the HTTP request, we need to give the basic headers, that is accept and content type. So accept, that is application/JSON, and content type is also application JSON. So this means we are typically saying that I will send the data to you in JSON format and you send me the data in JSON format only. Okay, that is what it says. So now we have done authentication. We have added the authentication profile, the endpoint, base endpoint, and the HTTP headers, basic headers. Now if you just look at the top of this particular page, the REST message page, it says OAuth access or refresh tokens are not available. Verify the OAuth configuration and click the get OAuth token link below to request a new token. Okay, so let's check whether our authentication is working or not before going to develop the HTTP methods to retrieve users and groups. So for that, just scroll down to the bottom of the page. Here you can see related links. In the related links, click on get OAuth token related link. So it will initiate OAuth flow. So here OAuth flow is failed. It is saying that scope is missing. Okay, let's fix this error. To fix this error, just open this OAuth profile. So you see, we have given the OAuth entity scope at the application registry level, but we missed that at profile level. So just give it as .default as it already created and save it. So see, this is done now. Now let's try to get the access token again. Just click on this get OAuth token. See, it is successfully completed. So now it says OAuth access token is available, but will expire soon at 5/7. So that means 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes, this will expire. No problem. It will get the new key automatically. Okay. So now we need to register our HTTP methods. So this is just the REST message. It will give you the authentication and everything. But in this REST message, we can have different HTTP methods. Maybe to get the data, we may create some GET request, and to get the like post the data, like to create records, we can have post methods, and to update, we can have put or patch methods and delete methods. Every card operations we can perform using these HTTP methods. So, but by default, so ServiceNow will create a HTTP method that is called default get method whenever you create a REST message. Now let's modify this to get the users data. Okay, get users, for example, or you can say list users. Okay, but for list users, this is not the endpoint, right? So for the list users, this is the full endpoint. You just copy this entire thing and paste it here. Okay, and in the authentication section, it is just inherit from parent. Okay, that means it will get the data from authentication profile from the parent. The parent is nothing but the REST message, that is Entra ID. We have already given the OAuth profile there itself, right? So we don't have to give again here. Okay, it just inherits from the parent. And in the HTTP request, just add the basic headers like accept application / JSON, and similarly content type. So done. Let's save this. So we have created a method, HTTP method, get method, to retrieve the users. Okay, let's check whether it is how it is working. Okay, to test this, we can go to scroll down to the bottom of the HTTP method page. Under the related links, you can see test. If we just click on test, it will hit the endpoint using the access token available and get the data. Okay, see, we got the data from endpoint. And if you see here, status is successful 200. So this is JSON payload. If you just, but it looks gibberish, but if you want to see the data, you can just go to JSON formatter, paste the data. Similarly, let's create a method for getting the groups. Okay, so we need to list the groups. Further also, we need to get the API from the documentation page itself. If you just scroll down to the API version 1.2 reference, here you can see groups also. From the groups, you can select list. That means list all the groups. Okay, and here also we need to check for the permissions that are required to get the groups. So in the permissions section, you need to look for the application, and here it will give you the least privileged permission that is required. Group member dot read dot all. This is the least permission that is required, and these are the higher privileged permissions. Group dot read dot all, directory dot all. Okay, so for now, I'll go with this one, group dot read dot all. Okay, so we need to read members and every group info. So I'll go with this permission and add this permission in the application of the Entra. So in Entra, we have registered the application, right? You need to add the permission here. Just check for the permission and add the permission. So if you see here in the permissions list, this also requires admin consent. So just as I'm admin, global admin, I can just click on grant admin consent. So that is granted now. Okay, now we can access this resource also, group data also. To access this group data, we need the endpoint. It is simply /groups. Okay, now let's go to list users. Sorry, we can create a new resource. The REST message, scroll down under HTTP methods, you can see list users existing already. We just need to give groups. This is also a get method. Instead of the users, we get the get groups here. Okay. So authentication is inherit from parent and give the HTTP headers. Okay. Save this. Once saved, we can test. Okay. But if you test now, it will fail. Let me show you why it will fail. We just click on test. So see, it is giving 403 error. Why? Because if you just look at the response, the authorization request is denied. Why? Insufficient players to complete the operation. So it is saying that we don't have permission to complete this particular operation. That means to get these groups. Why it is not allowing us? Why? Because we have added the permission at the application level in Microsoft Entra, but the access token was retrieved before adding that particular permission. So to fix this issue, we need to get the new access token. So to get the new access token, just go to the REST message. In the REST message, click on get OAuth token again. So it will retrieve a fresh access token. Okay, with the new permission that is added, that is group.read.all. Now let's go to the list groups method and test now. See, it is successful now. It says 200. That means that is successful. Now let's format this JSON also and see how it looks. See, we have